Okay, so Unit 4 is all about lines, graphing lines, writing equations of lines. Okay, so the first part is to figure out if a linear equation is linear or not. Okay, so as we can see in the definition here, a linear equation is an equation which the variables, so when two variables, x and y, are not multiplied by one another or raised to any power, and that the graph is aligned. So here's the important part: not multiplied, okay, raised to any power, and the graph is aligned. So those are the three ways you can tell. And the chart has a list of linear versus nonlinear. So the regular equations, as you can see, that you're familiar with, they are all lines. Whereas once we start throwing in things that's raised to another power, or that are multiplied together, or have square roots, or the absolute values, or anything that's not just your basic x and your basic y, those aren't linear because they don't make graphs that are straight lines. Okay? So let's talk a little bit more about this. So your independent variable is your x, and your dependent variable is your y. And we're not talking about things that are unknown, okay? Such as hours and dollars or time per distance. And we always have to solve for one variable. And that variable we always solve for is y. And that's because it's the dependent variable. It depends on your independent variable of x. So always take equations and solve for y, okay? Whenever we try to figure out if it's a linear equation or not, all right? So we would look at one such as the second one in the table, and we'd have to solve it for y. We'd have to get y alone instead of x. Okay? How is this different than what we've been doing? Well, what we've been doing has only had one variable, just x. But now, because it's a linear equation, it has two variables. So we have to solve for y. So let's look at this first example. This is something more used to what we're looking at. It has one variable and a number. So how would we solve this? We do the opposite operation. This is a plus 4, so we would subtract 4 on both sides. And I get y equals -4. Okay, so hopefully that was relatively simple. So let's look at this next one. What's really different? Then instead of just a 4, it's a 4x. But we still need to solve for y. So we're going to do the same thing. What's the opposite of a positive 4x? A negative 4x. So we're just going to subtract this time 4x on both sides. So my equation is y equals -4x. Okay? So all we're doing instead of solving for x is we're solving for y. Okay? So let's go to the next page and look at these next couple examples. Okay? We're going to solve for y in this first column. Okay, solve for y in this first column. So I'm going to start that by subtracting 10. -5y equals -25. And then I still need to get that y alone. So I'm going to divide both sides by -5. So I get y equals 5. So now in this other column, there's nothing really that different, except that there's that x, which doesn't really change anything. It all works the same way. We start by subtracting the 10x. So now we have -5y. And instead of combining your like terms, we don't have any like terms. So we just leave it as -15 minus 10x, okay? And again, we need to solve for y. So I have to divide both sides by this -5. So I divide everything by -5. So I get y is equal to, since 15 and 10 are divisible by 5, I am going to simplify this. If they aren't divisible, I am still going to simplify them. So whether they're divisible or not, I still want a clear distinction of this number with x and then a constant on its own. So since these are divisible, let's simplify. So you should get 3 minus 2x. Okay, so I want you to do the next two on your own. I want you to pause and try these out. Okay, so hopefully for this first one, you got -5/2. And then for the second one, like I said, we want to divide each one of these by that -2, okay? Because I want something that looks like this. I want an x with a coefficient and then just a constant, okay? So if you're not sure how I got that, check your work, watch your signs, okay? That's a big deal too. These next two, or this next row, is your homework. You're going to solve for y for each one of these, okay? And this is due tomorrow. So as soon as you're done watching this video, do those.